Nehemiah 5. The walls of Jerusalem were rising, stone by stone, as the people worked together with determination, but even when they pressed on with the momentary task, something deeper and more insidious was happening. Within every heart of the community, Nehemiah's mission to rebuild wasn't just about the stones, it was about the people themselves, their unity, and their commitment to justice. Nehemiah walked among the workers. Something caught his attention. The voices of distress, murmurs of complaints began to rise from the people. The rich was exploiting the poor, charging exuberant interest, and forcing the families to sell their land, even their children, into servitude to pay off debt. The people who were working to rebuild the walls of the city were being oppressed by the fellow Israelites. Nehemiah was appalled. How could the people who were fighting for God's kingdom turn against each other in such a way? The injustice was deep, and Nehemiah knew that it wasn't just the economic issues, it was also a spiritual one. Nehemiah didn't turn a blind eye to the problem. With a righteous anger, he called the nobles and the officials together. "What are you doing is wrong," he said. "You are taking advantage of your brother and sister, when we should be working together to rebuild the city, not tear each other down." The rich had been demanding high interest from the poor, leading many families into deeper poverty and bondage. They allowed their greed to blind them from the need of their neighbors. But Nehemiah wasn't just calling for repentance, he was calling for action. Nehemiah made it clear that there will be no more usury interest, no more taking advantage of the poor. He insisted that those who had exploited the people return the land, the crops, and even the children they had taken into servitude. It wasn't just about moral obligation, it was more about the heart of the community. Nehemiah credited the leaders agreed, and they swore an oath to return what had been taken, to no longer charge interest, and to see things right. The community was shaken, but through Nehemiah, leadership encouraged the people had given a chance to restore not only their city, but the relationship with one another. And so the work continued. The walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt, not just with stones, but also renewed hearts, and the people had been brought back together through justice and repentance. The division of the threatened to tear apart was healed, and more moved forward, uniting in their purpose. So Nehemiah 5 teaches us a powerful lesson in the justice and community. It is easy to look around and see a big picture, to think about rebuilding things like churches, ministries, careers, or we must never forget the importance but the justice within our own communities. The walls of Jerusalem weren't only the things that needed to be rebuilt. God was calling his people to rebuild their relationships, to love one another with fairness, compassion, and integrity. So I ask you, where are there areas in your life that need rebuilding? Are there relationships or injustices that need to be addressed? Maybe it's in your work, your home, or your community. Nehemiah teaches us that we can't just build walls, ignore brokenness inside. True restoration comes when we work for justice and reconciliation, both God and with one another. Take a moment today to reflect on any areas where God might be calling you to take action. Whether that's suffering forgiveness, standing up for the oppressed, or repairing the broken relationship. Share this message with someone who needs encouragement. Let us work together, not just to rebuild, but to restore justice and unity in God's kingdom. Comment on this, just put your favorite number in, put the number 1, the letter A. I want to see who's engaged, who's seeing, who's viewing, and who's getting closer to God. One day at a time, we're going to get through the entire book of the Bible. The Bible is the key to life. Get into it. You have blessed.